When Father Christopher Pollard entered the seminary at Washington's Theological College in 1993, the music he encountered at the school was what he had heard in most parishes, but no Gregorian chant.
So the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception is also across the street from TC. And in those days at noon, there was a Mass in Latin down in the Crypt Church, which is a gorgeous church. The acoustics are perfect. And there was a Cistercian priest who was chanting the entire Mass, and it was ethereal. It was amazing. And so he, at our request, taught 3-4 of us a little class in chant through the course of that year.
That training in Gregorian chant would have a profound impact on the young seminarian, and after ordination, it would inform how he led parish life. Chant had fallen out of favor in most American parishes post-Vatican II and was no longer required coursework in the early 1990s. Pre-Vatican II Mass was in Latin, not in the native vernacular as it is today. Priests could be called on to sing the Latin Mass.
So, what did that mean about seminarians? They were in seminaries before the 60s. They all had to sing. So in other words, you couldn't become a seminarian unless you could sing, or at least had the desire to sing and learn to sing, because the Mass was sung. Now that's not a requirement.
Though Gregorian chant may not be a mandatory part of the curriculum in most U.S. seminaries, the music has experienced renewed interest among Catholics in the past 20 years, and future priests are often exposed to it in seminary life.
I would say it's a requirement for every seminarian to know the fundamentals of how to sing chant, because it's part of our liturgy. When somebody says, "Our Father," we immediately all know that that's the chant that we're about to sing. So we have chants throughout, the responses, that if a priest sings, we have to sing a response. So there's aspects of that that are mandatory, I think, for every Catholic, that if you're going to participate in a liturgy and know what you're doing, you need to at least know those basics. There are also aspects of seminary where there is more chant than an average layperson might experience in a required sense in liturgy. So for example, when we do night prayer, we sing the Salve Regina. That's a classic Gregorian chant piece. Every seminarian in the country or in the world knows that piece. Every priest, every religious, we all know that. Whereas as a layperson, I had never encountered that before. So there are aspects that are definitely a requirement. But as far as the amount of Gregorian chant that you would like to learn, as far as your ability to sing it, as far as your desire to know how to read Gregorian chant notation, all those different intricacies, and to take that to a next level, that would be on the elective level for sure.
To the Lord, hear our prayer.
My family would probably tell you my singing ability is somewhere around the level of making what my dad calls a joyful noise, as opposed to raw talent. But I'm preparing to be ordained a priest, God willing, and part of that preparation is learning how to say Mass. And so the Missal, which has the parts of the Mass in it, also has sung parts for all the different parts of the Mass, and it's sung in chant. So I figured might as well have another tool in my toolkit and be ready to sing the Mass. So once a week, been meeting with our music director here at the seminary, just shaking the rust off the vocal cords and trying to learn some of these parts.
Even the sparrow finds a home.
I think that there are seminaries that have chosen in recent years to sort of reestablish this connection to the liturgical musical history and the liturgical patrimony that Gregorian chant is. I don't think that it is completely integrated into our idea of seminary formation at this point. Our priests are really inundated with tremendous responsibilities nowadays that are relatively new to the priesthood. The resources that they will face when they come into the life of the parish and the diocese are going to be fewer. There are fewer of them in many places. And so there's a lot of pressure that kind of puts musical formation a little bit off to the side. But I think that there is such an intense interest in our young seminarians in this material that they are taking their own steps in acquiring this information. That is not to say that there aren't some fabulous seminary music directors who are really taking great steps to expose the seminarians to this music. And many of them within the seminary, the ones who choose to be in the choir, get a rather extensive training in Gregorian chant nowadays.
As a priest in the future, I feel that one of my priorities will definitely be beautiful music. And so I feel that Gregorian chant will absolutely take a pride of place in those liturgies.
Glory and praise.